Day 10, can you believe it? Thanks again for joining us this morning. We're really excited about today's scripture. If you haven't been to the Lord in prayer, please start there. What then shall we say was gained by Abraham, our forefather, according to the flesh? For if Abraham was justified by works, he has something to boast about, but not before God. For what does the scripture say? Abraham believed God, and it was counted to him as righteousness. Now, to the one who works, his wages are not counted as a gift, but as his due. And to the one who does not work, but believes in him who justifies the ungodly, his faith is counted as righteousness. Just as David also speaks of the blessing of the one to whom God counts righteousness apart from works. Blessed are those whose lawless deeds are forgiven, and whose sins are covered. Blessed is the man against whom the Lord will not count his sin. Is this blessing then only for the circumcised, or also for the uncircumcised? For we say that faith was counted to Abraham as righteousness. How then was it counted to him? Was it before or after he had been circumcised? It was not after, but before he was circumcised. He received the sign of circumcision as a seal of the righteousness that he had by faith while he was still uncircumcised. The purpose was to make him the father of all who believe without being circumcised, so that righteousness would be counted to them as well, and to make him the father of the circumcised, who are not merely circumcised, but who also walk in the footsteps of faith that our father Abraham had before he was circumcised. Let's break this down. Paul now turns to Abraham as a test case. Since he was the father of all the Jewish people, he is a valuable example. Paul quotes Genesis 15:6, that Abraham's belief in God's promise was counted to him as righteousness. Paul explains that if salvation were by works, then God, in granting salvation, would be just giving us our due, paying us for our work. Yet instead, our belief in him who justifies the ungodly, meaning Jesus Christ, is counted as righteousness for us, just as Abraham's faith was. Paul then gives David as a second test case, quoting Psalm 32, 1-2, showing that David's righteousness was not based on his works, whose lawless deeds are forgiven and whose sins are covered. Paul then proceeds to explain how this righteousness that God grants apart from works, spoken of in the Old Testament, can apply to Gentiles. Abraham was counted as righteous in Genesis 15:6 before he was circumcised, which occurred not until Genesis 17. Circumcision was an outward sign and seal of Abraham's righteousness that belonged to him by faith. His faith was the cause of righteousness, not circumcision. Therefore, Abraham is the father of those who walk by faith, whether they are circumcised or not. Thanks again. If you like this video, please press the like button below, and we'll see you again tomorrow.